Everything you did, everything you sacrificed, it was worth it. For this.
Loss of a mind is a terrible thing, but this time, I think I'll make an exception.
My powers, they're draining. Just like Mazora said they would. A small price to pay in the grand scheme of things.
We did it. The Netherbrain is dead.
Against all odds, we cured ourselves. Free from the parasite. Free from the prospect of ceremorphosis. I can hardly believe it. We will not become accursed Illithids.
Not to cast any slight on you, of course. Your form rather suits you.
It makes little difference to me. I did what I had to secure my freedom. And in spite of your resistance to evolution, you have proved a good ally. I'm glad you think so. I did my best.
Well, that's a pleasant sight. Here's hoping they stay in their own plane.
With the Githyanki gone, there's nothing left but the silence of the city. Smouldering, waiting to be rebuilt. But it seems that Gale's mind is elsewhere.
The crown. It's somewhere in the Chiontha. If I salvage the stones, I can reforge it. And once I have, I'll return it to Mistra. She'll cure me of my affliction. And I'll finally be free. And a more deserving one this time around. If this adventure has taught me anything, it's that there are things in this world far more valuable than power. Besides, growing quite fond of this merry band of ours, but I'd quite like to see what happens to it. I'm sure Mistra will summon me soon enough, but until then, I propose we celebrate our victory the mortal way, with a drink in our hands and reckless abandon in our hearts.
A nip, a dance, and a song. Don't mind if I do. I think we're due an evening's reprieve. What's our leader have to say?
Let's not forget the wine. I want to flush out my brain, just to be completely sure the tadpole's gone.
I will not be joining you. I fear my presence will be no more welcome in the streets of the city than it ever was.
You're right, of course. But, well, I'll miss you, friend. Your companionship has been quite the education.
I will miss you, too.
Now that you no longer live in each other's minds, it's hard to tell if the mind flayer is being sincere, though perhaps no harder than it ever was.
Lest we forget, there are still graves to dig, injured to thank, warriors to exalt. They carved our course. honor them with each and every step you take. Hold on. Where's Karlak?
Her time is running short, and so too is your window to say goodbye. It's over, and it's all because of you. You, who were destined to become a thrall. Thanks to you, there will be no Illithid empire, no death god's tyranny. You have earned your place amongst the legends of the Sword Coast. You are the saviors of Baldur's Gate.
Well, woman, here I am. I did what I came here to do, and now it's done. I'm burning out. I'm burning out. It's time, isn't it? That's over, I'm afraid. What comes next is the end. Can I do this? I could return to the Hells. I could go back. It could be different this time. I'm different. Maybe I could do some good. It'll take grit, but I've got that. It'll take a big fuck-off sword, but I've got one of those too. All right. I can do this. It's now or never. Goodbye, Faerun. For now.
You slept like a babe straight through the night, dreamless, thoughtless, and almost entirely free. For the first time, you feel alone, calm. You breathe. Baal may have been your beginning, but he will not be your end. But what will you do now that your life is your own? A rush of pleasure wells up within you at the thought. You still do not know the full extent of the scars that you left, but you will heal them one by one. And once you have, the world will be yours, not to conquer, but to explore.
Worked. My engines calmed down. Gods, like clockwork. They'll be on me soon. But there's just enough time. Thought I was done with these. Imps are fast, but careless. Don't let them tire you out. Just get rid of them. And don't forget. You asked for this.
Better let these fuckers know I'm back.
Six months since you faced your father and refused your birthright. 6 months since you cured yourself of the urge. Your life is your own now, and you are already becoming someone new. But the memories of the past will not leave you alone. You receive an invitation one day, in a hand you recognize immediately. Challenger of gods, it reads. Surely thou wishest to see thine true family once more. Withers, who raised you when your father struck you down. He bids you join him at a gathering of your allies and friends. So, once again, you return to the place where you formed your first memories. You are calm. You are you. You can do this.
Thou wert called here, some from above, some below. For with thine bond, together thou hast kept the wheel of fate spinning when it threatened to halt. Though thou wert drawn far apart in the months after the collapse of the Absolute, tonight, fate renews thy bond once more. Thou shouldst take care to preserve it. It is a great weapon, wielded in the hand of good. Go. Know one another once more.
Damn, it's good to be alive.
Now, I wonder if I can get this face I know. Well, indeed.
This one night is like any other, and yet different. Thou art the savior of Baldur's Gate, until such time it requires saving again. How dost thou feel? I am pleased to hear it. The satisfaction of one's intention is, to my surprise, a rare accomplishment. Enjoy the revelry of the day. Thou deservest at least that much.
Such a homebody, Tara.
There you are. Gods, it's so good to see you. Hold on a moment. Do you smell that?
You take a deep breath, but you don't notice anything beyond the ordinary.
Oh, how right you are, and how wonderful it is. I've had so little time for simple pleasures like this in the 2 months past. Turns out, rebuilding a city requires more than a simple wave of a duke's hand. Bargains must be made, alliances must be forged, customs must be considered. Still, I make the decisions I see fit, the ones I think will restore the city to glory. I serve only Baldur's Gate, not a devil of the first hell. I've missed you too, Karlach. The most generous spirit, the fiercest heart, diamond and cinder forged into a precious treasure all on its own. If I had to do it all over again, and I'd rather not, to be clear, I can't imagine not having you at my side. I like to think I've had a healing touch. Baldur's Gate rises again, brick by brick, stone by stone. Which isn't to say I've gone without opposition. The people know me as one of the champions who saved their beloved city. They know Ravengard blood flows through my veins. The patriarchs, the aristocracy, the councils of Waterdeep and Arm, their arms aren't so wide open. Still, there's no friction that can't be greased with a sly promise or a proposition. Disbanded, to be formed anew. I don't expect a soldier or street sweeper to see through the schemes of a tyrant like Gortash. But the city's lords and ladies were all too eager to abandon their oaths and bend the knee. Liara Porter is now Grand Duke of the Wilds, Sickle of Chult. Floric is now Grand Duke of the Crossing, the face of devotion. And I am Will Ravengard, Grand Duke of the Worm, Heart of the Gate. We will yet be four. Until such time and after, we will enact the will of the People's Parliament. Baldur's Gate is nothing without its citizens, both in the upper and lower. Our duty is to them, and only them. The jewel of the coast will shine ever bright, welcoming the weak and the weary from wherever they hail. We are building new housing, not just shanties, but homes where families can rest their heads, plant gardens, pursue happiness. Amazing what can be done when Parliament and the Council pressure the upper city elites to open their coffers. I'm sure the Silver Shields can make do without a few more jeweled crowns. I've entrusted the fist to Floric. She commands the Flaming Fist with as brave a heart as ever, and delivered the likes of Gortash can bend people's minds with a few Bane's chosen primed the fist for a war they weren't meant to win. He convinced them there was an assassin hiding in every shadow, that cruelty, with a few exceptions, Florix pardoned every last fist. I will not make them drink the poison of my own resentment. Her words. Like my father, she believes in the bow and the blade. But she's teaching the valor is found not in the wounds you inflict, but in the lives that you have bettered. May they all take it to heart. Of course. Damn right. The hexes and eldritch blasts. Losing them took getting used to. They left behind, so I stoked a new one. Now the burning comes from within me, not from the depths of a... Go on, the nights or waste a single drop of wine for that matter. I plan on downing half a bottle myself. Oops, did I say half a bottle? I meant half a dozen. Cheers to you. A night without care. No worry, no obligation. It's been too long.
There you are. Well, well. Look, Professor Gale Decarius of Blackstaff Academy. Educator of the esteemed School of Illusion. A pleasure to remake your acquaintance. Well, that was quite lovely. I'm glad you're as pleased to see me. I have to say, I'm quite grateful to just be Gale for the evening. I fear my students find me somewhat intimidating due to my, explosive former reputation, or the fear of Mystra, to be more specific. I surrendered the crown of Carsus to her, as I told you I would, and in return she cured me of the orb at last. Even now, I struggle to put the feelings into words. It was like... Of course, I haven't clarified with my students that the orb is no longer a threat. The legend of my explosive capabilities is an excellent means of controlling a class. I spend most of my time trying to convince them how much fun the study of magic can be. But it'd be easier to crack a smile on an intellect devourer than some of my pupils. Illusory magic has the power to confound the senses, to render the impossible into... Unfortunately, in that respect, so they try their best, of course, when they can manage. And what of you? What are you making of this newfound lease of life we earned? I almost feel sorry for the devils in your path. I mean, I don't, of course. Sure, they deserve it. I've told my students plenty of tales about our escapades. You're something of a hero to them, you know? I'll be delighted to introduce you to my current cohort as a guest lecturer, perhaps. I'm sure they'd have plenty of questions for you. Excellent. I knew you wouldn't be able to resist. Of course, you'll be most welcome to stay with me in my tower. It will give us plenty of time to catch up on your adventures. I'm very curious to know what you've been up to these past months. But I suspect the telling of that tale would keep you tied to me all evening. So, in the spirit of selflessness, I encourage you to mix and mingle for now, with time enough to come.
Well, look who it is. So, how are you enjoying the Hells, my dear? I assume they're darling as ever. Don't spoil the mood. We'd have a good time, after all, reminiscing with old... friends. Of course. I've tried to taste everything this world has to offer. It has been a joy. I've been rediscovering what it means to be alive. More or less. Cazador's mansion has become my palace, and played host to every kind of banquet and soiree and masquerade imaginable. And of course, has seen its fair share of hedonism, clandestine deals, and the occasional disappearance. Whatever it takes to build up my influence over those who matter. I'm spinning my web. Power grows slowly, but I have nothing but time now. Rather wonderfully, actually. I've been making all sorts of new friends. They're the kind of friends that would see me burn the first chance they get. But that's all in the nature of the game, isn't it? But the important thing is I am doing wonderfully. Finally having a life that's worth living. And who knows what's next? There's an entire world out there, ready for the taking. You see, this is why I always liked you. You can see the big picture. What needs to be done. I did miss you, you know. There is a sense of loneliness that comes with power. We did share a wonderful adventure, you and I. A pity to see it end in some ways. But we have great new lives stretching out before us. And great new adventures to go on. I will never forget the time we spent together, though. And I know you'll never forget me. Until next time, darling. I wasn't sold at first, but the
Oh, right. You. Hello. Yes, I'm certain it is. As for you, well, you helped Mr. Dakarios save Baldur's Gate from the Absolute, isn't that right? Well done. Despite my old friend's genius. He'd have blown himself up. You ought to come visit myself and Gale when you're able. If you can extract yourself from what I'm sure are very important responsibilities. We'll send word by pigeon when we've need of you. I used to have a taste for them, but a great many things. Ta-ta, darling.
Starting to wonder if you'd show up. In all likelihood, it will be. But we mustn't let that stop us. Oh, come here, will you? It's been forever. You feel a little more substantial than before. Less camping and scrounging off the land, I take it? No offense intended. Quite the contrary, in fact. I'm glad you seem well. Trudy. Wandering, mostly. The adventuring life is almost a tonic when you're not constantly threatened by brain monsters and cultists. I can finally see the world beyond the cloister. One of my first stops was the House of the Moon in Waterdeep. It seemed like the perfect spot to reflect on my parents, on where they came from. Hard to imagine, isn't it? Me, of all people, in the lair of the Moon Witch herself. Gods, your truest act of heroism was putting up with all that char and drivel I was spouting for so long. Oh, I know they are. I can still sense them, I think. And one day, I don't know. Which is just the way I like it just now. Perhaps I'll just stick a pin in a map and see what I find. I'd like to see the islands, maybe, or head south to Arm. I heard there's an enclave of werecats that hunt the followers of dark gods by moonlight. But enough about me. What have you been up to? Don't be a stranger.
Looking ahead.
Starting to wonder if you'd show up. You can say that with a straight face after all the times I had to come to your aid. You feel a little more substantial than before. Filled out and healthy is what I was going for. Don't tell me you miss living off whatever scraps. I'm glad you seem well. Trudy. I had no doubt. But I'm glad to hear you say it all the same. Wondering, one of my... Hard to imagine, isn't it? Me. Oh, I know they are. Well, don't worry. I know their tired old tricks better than anyone. They'll need more than a hooded cloak and poisoned blade to best me. None other. The matter of her faith and allegiances, I have hopes that perhaps she might turn from Shah entirely given time. But that's a decision she will have to make for herself. Must I? I'm joking. Of course I want to know. Tell me all. As am I. Hopefully, these meetups will become a regular occurrence. It's not that I miss the tadpoles, but at least it brought us together. Now we've got... I'm sure we will, but let's be proactive about it all the same. After all, we've faced down bigger threats than wrangling together a few social calendars. Don't be a...
Thanks be to Withers. Even a duke deserves a night off.
Oh, hello. Let me guess, you've got some suggestions about the music choice. I find it hard to summon up the trademark pep these days. You have no idea who I am, do you? I thought Withers might have set the stage. I owe him a favor. I thought honoring the worthy was a fair price to pay for Withers to pull me out of the fugue plane. Alas, one purgatory to another. Languishing in obscurity. Cyric knew what he was doing when he Before I was banished to the fugue plane, I had song prayers coming out the proverbial I'm washed up, I'm afraid. No, I can see it all over your face. You've not a Go on, then. What should I play? Fine. It's your...
Ah, my dear friend, it's been an... Our skeletal friend will be very pleased to see I found my way here, despite my invitation getting lost in the post. Oh, I wouldn't bother you with such things during a party. And anyway, I've gotten quite good at replicating your signature, so you needn't even bother with the release. You might help me with the title, though. I'm considering The Hero and Me. What do you think? I knew you would. Perhaps, once the manuscript is finished, you'd even be willing to write a foreword? Or better yet, I'll write a draft, and you can just... Ah, your success really has been wonderful. But you mustn't let me hog your attention all night, my friend. You've many friends to chat to.
I'm glad the roads were kind. I'd hate to have missed this. Lucky thing I didn't decide to go to Arm yet. No way I would have made it back in time.
Perhaps I should stretch my wings again. Yes. What indeed? Prick up thy ears and listen. The balance of the world restored. The balance of these lives, mortal and otherwise, brought to account. Hear me, thou heroes, wastrels, friends. I have waited long to tell you these words. It is over. For now. Thou played thy part in weaving the fabric of fate itself, but for every thread you sewed, so did the gods unravel another. Sleep, rest, revel, but be ready, for thou mayst yet be needed. Until we meet again, I wish thee every possible fortune, health, wealth, love, and above all, problems worth solving. To you. There thou art, the dead three. Thy faces gods, thy actions barely worthy of the name. Didst truly believe thy ploy would succeed? Didst believe I would not notice? Thou soughtst to bolster thy strength by taking away the souls of mortals. But souls vanish when their hosts become mind flayers. Didst think the other gods would not notice? Gods thou may be, yet thou hast proven thyself fools, everyone. The supplication of Bane, the whimper of Baal, the death mule of Merkel, felled by mortals. I overestimated thee. They did not. Vermin, away. Thou wilt trouble us no more.